I never called him to ask him why. I'm sure he probably. But then when I.
Need water or anything?
You are on sitting like this. You want
Let's get started. This session is entitled Alternative Uses of the Right-of-Way, Broadband, Renewables, EV Charging Stations. Next speaker's worn many hats, including but not limited to area engineer, safety engineer, regional traffic safety engineer, project delivery team leader, major project manager over the Louisville Bridges project, active deputy division administrator. Received his bachelor's in civil engineering and master's in civil engineering, both from West Virginia University. He's currently serving as the planning environment system performance team leader for FHWA. Enjoys spending time with his family, hiking, biking, camping, fishing, hunting, boating, and church fundraising. Please welcome John D. Ballantyne.
Thank you and welcome. Right away. Alternative uses of right away. Dean Loy, where's Dean Loy?
I'm here.
Yay.
I'm here, brother.
Jennifer McCleve. Yay. Ricky Sizemore. No. David Whitworth. He knows a little bit about right away, I understand. I want to thank Jennifer so much for putting me up for this. Yep. I'm going to give a presentation that was given at a recent ASHTO meeting. Key topics are, we're going to talk about the basic regulatory environment, April 2021 letter that raised some questions and opportunities, some frequently asked questions that are on the website, various resources, and then some questions. Our presentations get graded and approved, so we have to read this disclaimer. Except for any statute or regulation cited, the content of this presentation do not have the force and effect of law and are not meant to bind the public in any way. This presentation is intended only to provide information to the public regarding existing requirements under the law or agency policies. So there. So a little history. In general, real property acquired for highway purposes shall be devoted exclusively to public highway purposes. Other use or occupancies can be allowed if the use is in the public interest, will not impair the highway, or interfere with the free and safe flow of traffic thereon. Prohibit commercial activity within the interstate right of way. It's covered by 23 U.S.C. 111. It prohibits commercial establishments for serving motor vehicle users. It does grandfather in establishments prior to 1960. It allows the use of airspace, but no access from the interstate highway. So you have to be closed right away. Rest areas, limited commercial activities for serving the motor public can be in rest areas. This is pretty cool stuff. A right-of-way use agreement are allowed. The state has a utility accommodation plan, right?
Yes.
The basic requirement is must be in the public interest, must not affect the safety or operation of facilities. It must consider environmental effects. So when you may request for an alternative use of a right of way, you do have to do environmental document as well. April 27, 21, a memo came out from Acting Administrator Pollock that talked about leveraging alternative uses of highway right of way. And it mentioned things such as renewable energy generation, so solar panels in the right of way, electrical transmission distribution projects. Again, that's not so different, but it was re-mentioned. Broadband. I understand we have some recent push in Kentucky for expanded broadband. Vegetation management, inductive charging. Have not heard about that in Kentucky so much, but that can be in some cities. Alternative fueling facilities. So I think it also did mention carbon sequestration. So if you want to plant certain vegetative materials for that purpose, that's also an alternative use. Clean energy connectivity, discuss the benefits of clean energy connectivity projects, outlines 2 methods of addressing such projects. The first method is utility under state utility access policy. So that is where Kentucky, I believe, is. So in general, yeah, these projects could be treated as utilities. Correct, Jennifer? Good, thank you. For states that define these facilities, FHWA encourages states to update their utility access policy to clarify that these projects are in fact utilities. So I don't know where we're at with that.
The UAP is housed in the permits manual,
Okay,
so we're still working on it.
so we're working on it. Okay. We got a plan for that too. The second method is we may approve alternative uses of the right of way, federal highway may. So one, you have it in your manual and it's just covered. Second, if it's not covered in the manual, then you come and have a conversation with us and we may be able to approve it. Okay. Fair market value. So that is one thing that, yeah, has to come back to the federal purpose of the fair market value of these utilities. Approval both needs to be documented. Okay. Some questions. Now I'm going to read my notes. These are on the website, and I'd like to just run through them quickly. So in general, Kansas State Department of Transportation or other state agency with jurisdiction over a highway, utility, or other public-private party assess a fee for electric vehicle charging at a location outside the interstate right-of-way. Shout it out. Outside the interstate right-of-way. Yes. Yes, you can.
Yes.
Yes, you can. Okay. Can a state DOT or state local agency with jurisdiction over highway utility or other public, private party assess a fee for EV charging when the EV charging station is located within the interstate right of way?
Yeah, no.
No is the correct answer. I knew this would be a little bit of fun. Okay. Can a state DOT or state local agency with jurisdiction over a highway utility or other public or private party assess a fee for EV charging when the EV charging station is located within non-interstate right of way? Yes. Jennifer says yes. And the answer on my piece of paper says yes. Can a state DOT or other state local agency with jurisdiction over highway utility or other public private party assess a fee for EV charging when the EV charging station is located at a park and ride lot? Says yes here. Okay, so park and ride lot, EV charging station, you can charge to charge your car. Yeah, as long as it's not at an interstate. Can a state or other people assess a fee for charging when the EV charging station is located on a federal postal road? I don't think, do we have federal postal roads in Kentucky? Probably doesn't apply, but the answer is yes. If it's treated as a utility. Can an installation of an EV charging station be accommodated through utility accommodation procedures? Yes. If an EV charging station is accommodated in the right of way as a utility, does the fair market value requirement apply to the utility's use of the right of way? If the EV charging station is accommodated in the right of way as a utility, does the fair market value requirement apply to the utility's use of the right of way? No, it does not. It's that other one. If it's not in the policy and we approve it, then we may have to charge fair market value. Can State Department of Transportation or other local agency with jurisdiction over a highway utility or other public-private party charge the owner of an EV charging station for their use of the right-of-way for the installation and operation of the EV charging station? If the state owns the right of way in fee or in accordance with the lease agreement or easement agreement, then yes, they can charge a fee to the EV charging station company. Yep. If EV charging stations are considered utility under state law, but not covered by the state utility accommodation policy, may the installation be allowed as a utility without updating the UAP? I don't think we already said that. Yes, we can prove it. Only a few more folks. Hang in there. Oh, thank you. Oh, let's go one more. Can a state contract with a private company for installation, operation, and maintenance of EV charging? Yes, it can. It requires a right-of-way agreement if it's not a utility, but if it's a utility, yes, they can. Can the operation of EV charging station be considered as a state operation carried out through a contractor and thereby eliminate fair market value requirements? I think the answer is no. The answer is no. What are the considerations for determining what property is within the interstate right of way? So how do you know if it's within the interstate right of way? Because a lot of times we may have acquired more than we needed. And basically it says you go back to records of acquisition, look at all the disposals, and if it's necessary for the right of way utility operation of the interstate, it is in the interstate right of way. What advertising language is permissible in connection with EV charging stations on and off the interstate? Basically MUTCD, of course, There's a alternate fuel corridor signs. There's a EV charging station signs, and logo signs, and all addressed in the METCD.
The rest area question. I've been
Go
waiting.
back about the rest area.
Yeah, I was, that was good. 13 after.
Yeah.
Read my thing.
Anybody know David Moses? David Moses in the crowd, former LPA czar, you know, one of that local public agency czar. was- Yeah. Always, yeah, lucky 13. If a state DOT acquires property adjacent to the interstate right of way and uses it as a rest area, does it become a part of the right of way? David, why are you so interested in that question?
Hope the answer's no.
If a state DOT acquires property adjacent to the interstate right of way and uses it as a rest area, does it become part of the interstate right of way? Yes. I could have gone no, but if the answer is yes, it is. So that's basically, if you have the interstate right of way and you acquire more right of way to put a rest area, the only way you can access the rest area is through the interstate right of way, so that it effectively becomes interstate right of way. Any other questions, Dave?
No, sir.
Some resources here. These are on the slide presentation, so you can go and download these and read those to your heart's content. It is, I found it kind of interesting. There are some other older memos that, besides this most recent one, that talk about emergency use of housing homeless people, and then some other things that could come up on an emergency basis. A lot of interesting things in there. Alternative uses right away. I don't think I need to touch on those, all of those, but they're there. And I did want to also talk about some of KYTC's landing pages and associated policies and procedures. Jennifer, did I meet your expectations for this presentation?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Do you have any questions, comments? Anybody else in the room have questions or comments?
We have a presentation with the answers?
The answers are
Yes.
in the which one is it? Right here. Right there. You got that one? And let's go. These very same questions and answers with a little bit more detail than I gave. Yeah. Good. So who are we? Who are we in the room? Do we have, how many district utilities folks do we have? Yay. How many utility companies representatives do we have? Yay. Okay. Right of way folks from districts, consultants working on right of way projects. One. Okay. Riveting, I know. Any questions?
I'd like to know if we have any creative alternate uses of right of way being implemented in Kentucky from this audit.
Would you rephrase the question, please?
I'd like to know if anybody in the group has any projects where they're using implementing any of these alternate uses of the right of way.
Jennifer McCleve asked if anybody in the room is using alternative uses of right of way.
On District 6, on I-71, the realignment there in Glencoe area, so mile marker 62 to 64. We're looking to realign 71 because of truck issues, crash issues, things like that. It's been on our radar for a long time. So one of the things we're considering is it's not so much EV or something like this, but we are looking to potentially take the abandoned piece of right of way left where the existing alignment of 71 is. And come back and I forget the environmental term, but basically revegetate it.
Pollinator?
Yes, yes. Yeah,
So District 6 answered yes, they're
we're looking to try to do that. And then
using
that,
some old right of way not being used as pollinators.
yes, sir.
Any others? There's somebody else over here.
No, I was just about to ask you, what are you seeing nationally on the DV stations now? I mean, of course, you part of the overall FHWA with the across the nation, they started enact over the law in other states, I guess.
We happen to have some of the Kentucky EV experts right in this room. So, Nora,
Yeah, Justin Harris, the KYCC Central Office. I'm in charge of the electric vehicle initiative, for the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure, NEVI. Kentucky has, back at the end of July, submitted a plan to federal highways. We are waiting for approval by the end of this month, no later than this month. We currently, at the end of last month, on the 24th of August, sent out a request for information regarding implementation, deployment, all that. That is due back by September 30th. And we are basically gonna use this RFI to help us inform an RFP, request proposals. And so we are looking at taking the federal highway requirements specified from the IIJA/bill federal formula program of NEVI and seeing how we can put these charging stations in the state by meeting those requirements on our alternative fuel corridors, which encompass all interstates and parkways.
the question was, how is Kentucky and the nation implementing the NEVI opportunity, requirements and opportunity? And Justin said that Kentucky's plan has been submitted to Federal Highway, and we've looked at it. I think it looks pretty good. It'll probably move forward, and then you're going to start an RF request for information to see what providers are out there and how they might assemble and put together an implementation plan. Did I get that about right?
Yep.
So that's where we're at. So I guess the short answer is it's moving forward, and it's moving forward at a pretty good pace and very methodical coordination with the joint office. I think that's really helped all the states and including Kentucky. Kentucky, I think, is a leader in this area. So
Yeah, FHWA was one of the best reviews. We're doing well.
any other questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Nora said that Kentucky's plan was one of the best. Yeah. Questions, comments?
Well, I'll just add to that, of course, you think too, this is from the economic development side, of all this manufacturing plants, a big push for the vehicles themselves, especially coming into Kentucky, Ford, and that other one, I think, is now breaking ground, look, Bowling Green. You know, ground states with other moving too, so I think we're gonna be out of a central, you know, battery or that type of vehicle, so you're on the right of way.
Yeah, the comment is Kentucky's a leader in battery production and electric vehicles probably coming soon. And the charging stations, I'm sure, will be coming also. And there are already some charging stations at some state parks and other areas. So it's all on the website. So yeah. Anybody in this room own a Tesla? Anybody ridden in a Tesla? A few hands. Very good. Thank you. All right. Any other questions about alternative use? Yes, David.
You mentioned pollinators on right of way. There is some of that already. Mile marker 24 on 64 as you head towards Frankfurt, look on the south side of the pollinator. They've designated some areas for signs on the right of way. Right away.
Yeah.
There's been some discussion about solar panels. Possible solar panels, but nothing implemented yet.
Yeah, David Whitworth mentioned the pollinators are already being put on right of ways in Kentucky, and I think that's actually a part of the landscaping. I'm not sure you have to get a utility accommodation permit for that. But the solar panels, that probably would require an accommodation. So yeah, you have mentioned that there are several being talked about. I'm not sure if they have actually been implemented yet. But it seems like we do have a lot of right of way that those solar farms seem to be popping up all over. So that's
But the solar panels won't have the same hurdles as the charging stations on the interstate route. Right? I mean, so DOT panels, so
Some of the solar panel discussion was to power the lighting.
right. Yeah, there's other states have been doing some. You put them in some.
People don't understand how much money that the state of Kentucky spends on their lighting of the road. Tons of funds.
you can still contract out the maintenance of those things. I guess, right?
It's just a different scale. So I know some places have.
The district is not going to have the ability to maintain something like that.
I think there was a question that touched on that, Dave. You might want to study up on that.
Okay, yes. I'll pay attention. Bodie was talking. Oh, damn.
Hello here.
No, that's a coming thing. Yeah, other states are doing it. Where you put them, of course, it has to not interfere with safety, traffic operations, has to be in the public interest. But yeah, you can contract them. I understand states are hiring contractors to put them in. Yeah. Any other questions, comments, jokes? All right. Thank you very much. Yes.
All right.